How about that, eh?
100 years ago today, to the hour, the guns fell silent on World War I. In the 100 years since, the men and women who served in that great war have seen their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren march off to war again. And every year, on this day, at this hour, the country comes together to honor those veterans who have served before, currently, and knowing that there will be more who serve in the future. Every veteran who has served as their great-grandparents or grandparents or parents did in World War I, hoping that this will be the last war. The wars have changed in the last 100 years, but the scars remain the same. The burdens remain the same. And the responsibilities of veterans today remain the same. The dual responsibility, both to carry the torch forward of those veterans who went before, and to remember the sacrifice of those who didn't make it home. A veteran, by definition, is one who came home when others didn't. And every day, veterans remember that we judge ourselves, and we have a responsibility to the fallen, never to be less worthy of the life we are given than those from whom it was taken. So as we stand in front of the memorial to those who didn't make it home, those who served, stand borne up under their scars with that same quiet dignity, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, with those who have served, who are serving, and who will serve. On Veterans Day, our country remembers those who have served, their scars, their sacrifice, and their burden. Later today, we'll hear from Judge Judy Tilson, who will tell us about Minnesota Veterans Court and some of the amazing things that our state is doing for our veterans. You are here to help us honor the veterans, past and present. Thank you for coming. In concession to our Minnesota winter, we are not going to have the color guard march across the ice to post the colors. The colors are already posted behind me. We will have the posting of the POW MIA flag. Representative Post. The empty chair stands in memory of all those POWs, MIAs, prisoners of war and missing in action who did not come home, but whose whereabouts is still unknown. The helmet and rifle stands in memory of those who died in service to their country, to whom we now render honors. Firing party, render honors. Group attention, post. Present.
Aim. Fire. Aim. Fire.
cover. Freeze and arm.
Order, hold! To honor our country, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for the playing of our national anthem. Freeze, hold.
Merciful God, though, understand if we don't remove our headgear. God of peace, we pray for those who have served our nation, who have laid down their lives to protect and defend our freedom. We pray for those who have fought, whose spirits and bodies are scarred by war, whose nights are haunted by memories too painful for the light of day. We pray for those who serve now, especially for those in harm's way. Shield them from danger and bring them home. Turn the hearts and minds of our leaders and our enemies to the work of justice and peace. In your great goodness, hear our prayers. Amen.
Appreciate you being here. We appreciate especially St. Paul Central High School Band. They come out every year and they do an amazing job. Always worry when it gets this cold. I have images of a Christmas Story and wondering what's going to happen to the brass section over there. But they are here every year and do so much for us. We'd like to recognize as well the Scout troops that are here with us. Pack 4 Troop 95, Pack 83 from St. Paul Park, Pack 198 from West St. Paul, Crew 781 from Cottage Grove, and especially all of you for coming out and joining us this morning. We'd like to continue the program. Before we do, I was remiss to say that the flag that we're flying today is a casket flag of World War II Navy veteran Tom Arneson. It's that memory we honor here today on this Veterans Day, with a musical tribute to all who have served in the armed forces of our great country. To introduce our speaker today, I'd like to call forward past president of the 173rd Airborne Association, Trudel Garou, who himself spent a very long time, his career, working in the criminal justice system.
Now, I want to introduce to you my friend, Judy Tilson. Most of you will call her Your Honor if you've ever called in front of her. Do not be called in front of her. I met Judy more than 20 years ago. She was an assistant Hennepin County prosecutor, and I was the losing attorney. She kicked my butt all over the courtroom. Now, I could tell you more stories, but I don't want to embarrass her, so this is Judge Judy Tilson. Ma'am?
Thank you, Trudel. Thank you for the honor of speaking here today. Thank you to all the veterans who served and the family members who are here. Thank you to the organizers and the band. And thank you for asking me to speak about Veterans Treatment Court. As you've heard, my name is Judy Tilson, and I am a judge here in Ramsey County. I have been a judge for nearly 20 years. I have never served in the armed forces. I am not a veteran. So you ask, why am I standing here in the cold and speaking today? I have been coming to this wall at 11 o'clock on November 11th for well over 20 years. Some years it is warm and sunny. Some years it is cold. Some years we've had snow and sleet, so this is kind of nice today. Every year the band plays, and every year we show up. We show up to take a moment, just a short moment, to remember, to reflect, and to honor, and to commit ourselves to remembering. We remember that men and women fought for all of us. We remember their service. We reflect on what life means for veterans during and after their service. We honor the veterans we honor their service. I have the honor today to talk about Veterans Treatment Court. For me, Veterans Treatment Court is an opportunity to not only acknowledge the service to our country of the veterans who appear before me in court, but just as those veterans have served us, it is my opportunity to serve them. Many of our returning veterans get in trouble with the law. We call this a justice-involved veteran. People may ask, why do veterans become justice-involved? I don't have the magic answer, but I know some things. I know some things that contribute. PTSD, alcohol and drug addiction, survivor's guilt, mental health issues, general difficulty adjusting to civilian life, and for too many of our veterans, homelessness. Justice-involved veterans are now in a civilian court, facing civilian sanctions, often lost and confused, and continuing to try to do their best. We in this country raise young men and women to want to be in the military. The military trains our young men and women to be good fighters, to spare nothing to defend. And then we expect them to come back to their homes and adjust. It just doesn't work like that. We have an obligation, I have an obligation to serve these veterans, not just to punish them for what they have learned. I ask you, don't we have an obligation to serve those veterans who have served our country? I ask you, don't we have a duty to see to it that these veterans have access to medical care? I ask you, don't we have a duty to see to it that these veterans have access to mental health care? I ask you, don't we have a duty to see to it that these veterans have a home? I ask you, don't we have a duty to see to it that veterans get support from other veterans and from the court? My job as a judge is not just to lock people up, but it is a tool. In Veterans Treatment Court, it is a tool of last resort. In Veterans Treatment Court, we gather professionals in the legal profession, the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the judge, along with the county Veterans Service Officer, the Veterans Administration Justice Outreach Worker, chemical and mental health providers. We get together and we talk. We talk about the needs of the veteran, and we ask these questions. Does this veteran have chemical health treatment? Does this veteran need chemical health treatment? Does this veteran need mental health treatment or medication? Does this veteran need support in our community? Does this veteran have a home? And then we find them what they need. We find a home. We find chemical health treatment. We find mental health treatment. We find a mentor for the veteran, preferably someone from the same branch of the military, someone who has been through the same issues. If we do not serve and assist a justice-involved veteran, we ignore their service to us and our country. And if we ignore the untreated trauma and the invisible injuries, we leave them behind. We leave a fallen comrade behind. I refuse to leave these men and women behind. I choose to serve them as they have served us. I would like to read you a poem from a graduate from our Veterans Treatment Court, written for graduation day by Chris Anderson. It is called 2 years, 7 months. Abruptly, my world was upside down. No one knew the pain I'd been going through. The smiles that covered my face seemed to keep people away from what was really going on. I was a soldier. I knew I had to be strong. Many times I've heard, "Suck it up and drive on." So me and the bottle became the best of friends. No matter the time of day, I knew it was 5 somewhere. I'd never feel unsure of myself with help, except for this help was harmful. But that sip would turn into a swallow turned into a bottle. All the while, an underlying feeling of inadequacy was arising. I kept it subsided by shopping each check away. Why not spend my hard-earned money on self? Bills could wait until the next check. Friends coming for advice, 'cause I had the perfect life. What they didn't know is I didn't even like myself. Memories seemed to fade while nightmares appeared. Sleepless nights, tossing and turning. Wonder why I have this urge I knew would burn. Burn holes in my pocket, burn away my desires, burn through relationships, burn away the person I knew I was. Then one day it all came crashing down. It seemed like life crashed and burned, but new life was found in the rubble of debris. 23 hours locked down, imagining what life would be without me here, while the green suit was keeping me from harming myself. Suicide watch again. Years later, but this time was different. The war zone was gone. I was home, but I was still at war. This battle was more intense. It was deep within. I didn't know how this would end. Hearing before that I didn't qualify didn't have me feeling the best. Strong feelings of knowing I need help brought me to tears. I walked into that cold, enclosed room, not knowing what would come of this. Many times before, the damage I caused ended with a slap on the wrist. Asked a few questions by a man I'd never met. To those questions, my response was yes, I was currently serving my country, and shortly before I had received my mental diagnosis. First time I admitted it without being ashamed. Veterans Court sounds good. Again, I'd been denied 2 years before, so my confidence was very low. After observing for almost 3 months, phase 1 was the next step. Times I felt beside myself with all the requirements. Too far to turn back now was what played over and over again. Many people pulling for me, couldn't let them or me down. For once, I knew something had to give. Setback after setback, never giving up, because I knew this program wouldn't let me go back to who I once had been. The road to recovery was never easy. Therapy one after another. UAs every few days. Court dates filled my calendar. Moments felt like a blunder. Months felt like years. Here I am at graduation day, proud of my biggest accomplishment. I walked across that college stage. I've raised my right hand. Nothing can top this experience of 2 years and 7 months of finding me again. That's why I do Veterans Treatment Court. Let us never leave a fallen comrade behind. Let us serve our veterans at home as they have served us. Thank you.
Now once again, St. Paul Central High School Band.
Today we have come together to honor those who have faithfully served our country, so we may stand in this place in freedom. We need to be constantly reminded of this gift that has been purchased by those who gave a portion of themselves, and for future generations to continue to know a life in free and in a society of democracy. The duty, the service of our veterans past, present, is the centerpiece of the word freedom. We honor that service and sacrifice today and carry it forward to future generations so they too see the value of duty and service whereby necessary for the continued work towards freedom as we know it today. Today we stand to honor, remember the cost, and continue to walk on the path of duty and service so as to never lose sight of the precious gifts of freedom. We remember today, Veterans Day. Our veterans.
We spend one day a year here on Veterans Day. Veteran service does not begin or end on November the 11th. And as Judge Tilson said, our obligations to them, their obligations to each other, go much past this day. But today we're here, and I want to thank you all for coming out. Thanks very much to Judge Tilson for coming and talking to us about Veterans Court. Again, thanks to St. Paul Central High School Band coming out here in the cold, to our scout troops who've come out here with their colors to be with us, and to you all for remembering this Veterans Day. Thank you.